Throughout the years, Minecraft has had a lot of updates, all with their fair share of additions and or changes, like the 1.16 update completely revamping the Nether, the 1.9 update which changed the combat system entirely, or the 1.17 update that made the cave systems a whole lot bigger and added a few new blocks as well. But the question is, which is the biggest Minecraft update? What I mean by this is, what is the update that changed the game the most, like added the most blocks, materials, mobs, structures, biomes, or other things like that? I think that the discussion of the biggest Minecraft update boils down to one update that was released in 2011. Mojang had two versions of it, the beta and the full release, and that would be the adventure update. First off, I am going to talk about the first version or the beta version of the update, the 1.8 beta update. This was released September 14th, 2011, and was the first version of the adventure update, and it was the final update of the game before going into the complete version of the game. The first thing to note are Endermen, which was a play on the word Slenderman, as they are slender men who also happen to be the toughest enemies in the game when the update released. I remember when this update first released and seeing the trailer, and it had the Enderman stalking the player like Slenderman did, with every time the player looked away, the Enderman got closer until it killed him, I think. Next up are the structures. There were a few structures added to this update. First of all is the Stronghold, which was the gateway to the end, and I think the most impressive and loot-heavy of all the structures added in this update. This was built out of blocks, which were also new to the release, which are stone bricks. Next up are villages, one of the best structures you can find in Minecraft nowadays, and was a pretty good find back then too, as it still gave you valuable resources like iron and wheat. But the thing is, villages were not added in this update, so when you found a village it was just empty, like a ghost town. It wasn't until 1.0 when they were added. Then mine shafts are next, which I liked a lot too because of the abundance of melon seeds, gold apples, and saddles in the chests, and there were a chance of finding diamonds too. Finally, ravines. This wasn't that cool of an addition since it was basically just a long cave that was open to the surface all the way through. On to the items, mostly food items were added here, with the addition of chicken and beef dropping from chicken and cows like they should have many updates ago. And obviously you can cook them. Then there's rotten flesh, which drops from zombies. And some of you must be thinking, what did zombies drop before rotten flesh was added? And the answer is feathers. And yeah, I don't know why. Maybe the zombies just wanted to tickle the player, but they accidentally tickled them a bit too hard and they kill them. There's also watermelon seeds and pumpkin seeds, which allows you to actually grow pumpkins now instead of only finding them around the world, and obviously watermelon and melon slices too. Now the mobs. In this update there were only a few mobs added. First up is obviously the Endermen, which we've already mentioned. The second one is the cave spiders, which came with the addition of the mine shafts, and these guys were and still are some of the most irritating mobs to fight for obvious reasons. Lastly are the silverfish, which were added for strongholds, and are still seen in strongholds nowadays. Something that I found weird is why a small little insect that can't even really hurt you in real life, like a silverfish, became a mob in Minecraft. But whatever. On to the biomes. There were a few biomes added. The first one is the swamp, which in this update I don't think it really had anything useful as witch huts weren't added yet, and I'm pretty sure that slimes did not spawn in the biome yet, but I can't remember. The second one is the extreme hills biome, which is just a replacement to the epic mountains and hills you'd see in the previous updates, but now you could only see them in this specific biome which nobody liked. Lastly, the taiga biome. This also didn't have anything special if I can remember properly. The mushroom trees were here, I don't know. Other things this update added were XP orbs, which wasn't useful in this update since enchantment tables weren't added yet. A major change to gameplay was the addition of creative mode, which was the second gameplay mode added to the game after survival was the only one for so long. And we know what creative does now. Gives you the ability to fly, invincibility, commands, and the ability to use any item you want. Another change was the bow now having to charge up instead of shooting rapid fire. Another thing which was the most controversial change in this update was the addition of the hunger system. People hated this since there was no hunger before, so you didn't have to constantly worry about losing your hunger, and the fact that eating instantly healed you a set amount of health before, but now you had to have near full hunger to heal, and it was slow regeneration. But hey, at least we could sprint now. Status effects were also added, like poison, hunger, speed, and slowness, and many others. And oh yeah, food can stack too. One more thing to note is the addition of critical hits, which were performed while attacking an enemy while you were falling. On to 1.0, which was the complete version of the Adventure update. Released on November 18th, 2011, this was supposed to be the first full release of the game, and this update also added a lot of things to the game that were great additions. We'll get some of the major things out of the way first. First of all, we'll get the elephant in the room, the End. A whole different realm that is only the third in the game besides the overworld and the nether. This was the focus point of the update, which added an actual boss and ending to the game via the end with the Ender Dragon as the final boss. Obviously, all Minecraft fans know what the end is now and how to get there, but in the initial release, there were no end cities or elytra, which honestly I'm sure most people know since that was added much later into the game. There were also Endermen roaming around everywhere. Next up, the crafting stations, the brewing stand and the enchantment table. The brewing stand allowed you to craft many different potions with different status effects and different strengths or durations like strength potions, fire resistance, poison, regeneration, and more. You can make stronger potion effects with glowstone, longer duration potions with redstone, and splash potions with gunpowder. Enchantment tables were, in my opinion, the best addition in this update, as it gave the ability to greatly increase the effectiveness for certain stats of tools, weapons, and armor, like protection for greater damage resistance on armor, sharpness for better damage on swords, and efficiency for faster mining on tools, and power for greater damage on bows. To use this, it required XP, and you can get higher level enchantment by having bookshelves around the table. The more bookshelves, the better enchantments. The issues is the better enchantments they were, the higher levels they required. Something that was really nice about the enchantment table then was that it didn't need lapis to enchant, just the item and the levels. There were also many new items added, the main ones being those required to travel to the end to fight the Ender Dragon, like blaze rods, blaze powder, which was used to combine with the ender pearls to create ender eyes, orbs that when thrown flew in the direction of the closest stronghold, which held the end portal necessary to travel to the end. They were also required to open the end portal as it needs 12 ender eyes to be activated. There are also bottles which were needed for brewing, fermented spider eyes, gas tears, glistering melons, and magma cream, nether warts, and spider eyes, which were all used for brewing, and also gold nuggets, which dropped from zombie pigmen, which was really just used to craft gold ingots. And many new music discs too. On to the biomes, which weren't many but we'll name the few. Frozen biomes such as rivers, oceans, plains, and mountains. The End, which we already mentioned. And the new and very rare mushroom biome, which was little island that can spawn out in the ocean, which composed entirely of mushroom trees, blocks, and the only mob that spawned there being a mushroom, a cow that grew mushrooms on its back. Now the structures. The first major structure added was the Nether Fortress. This is what housed very important monsters and materials needed for potions and progress. One such mob is the Blaze, which dropped blaze rods to create blaze powder, which in turn can create ender eyes and craft brewing stands. Fortresses also held and grew nether warts, which was needed for crafting awkward potions. There is also the end portal room inside the strongholds. We've already mentioned how the end portal works. Then there's also the mushroom islands and the end, which we've both already talked about, so we can skip that. On to the mobs. Let me get the ones we've already discussed out of the way, such as mushrooms, blazes, and the Ender Dragon. Blazes were one of two nether mobs added in this update, the other being magma cubes, a creature with a very similar look to a slime, but with a magma look to it. Their sole purpose was to drop magma cream, used for crafting fire resistance potions. Another mob added, which does not spawn naturally, is the snow golem. They can be created by placing 2 snow blocks, one on top of the other, and a pumpkin on top. They shoot snowballs at enemies, which doesn't do damage to most enemies. Baby animals were added too, making breeding possible. Baby mobs didn't drop anything though, which I'm sure made many people sad. You sickos. Finally, there are the villagers. After the 1.8 beta update added villages, which were more like ghost towns than anything, they added villagers alongside that in the 1.0 update, thankfully, which made villages feel a lot less uncanny, even if villagers at this point didn't do anything. So out of all Minecraft updates, I think the adventure update has got to be the most important and the overall biggest update that the game has ever seen. I mean, they had to split it in between 2 full updates for goodness sake, that being the 1.8 beta and 1.0 updates. With all that was added to Ender Dragons, the End, Potions, Enchantment, Nether Fortresses, Stronghold, Stamina System, and more, can this really be debated? If so, tell me what you think is a bigger update. I'll wait. Well, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.